Hi there, it's Kevin with GatheringMagic.com with match number 1 with the good old green-black Hardened Snakes deck. Yes, this is definitely a keepable hand. We have one of our Hardened Scales, and we also have Hangarback, Rishkar, Nissa. All these are great cards to lead off with. No one-drop, but one-drops are quite awkward in this deck, unless they're called Elvish Mystic. So we'll go ahead and keep it. Just look at the deck tech for other reasonings that I think we need another one-drop that's relevant. The 2/3 Death Touch is okay, but it comes into play as a 2/3 and then gets, of course, does get bigger if you cast it on a turn after Hardened Scales or whatnot. So Jada Offshoot. Alrighty. We should have a pretty good game versus this deck. I think we can just lead off with a Cinder Glade, safely with a Cinder Glade, and then just pass. And we will start off with the Winding Constrictor. So Jada Offshoot usually are like these Yuji Dirtle decks. There is a lot of like the take extra turn type ramp decks. What are the cards that, I'm trying to think of whenever you cast an instant spell, you get a particular construct. There's also like the animating the Lumbering Falls. Transgress is actually very, very weak here. Probably will take Nissa, but because you can't take the Winding Constrictor or the Hangarback, which are our most powerful cards. The Rishkar, the second Rishkar is actually relevant. That's what makes Rishkar so special. Actually, does take a Rishkar here, as the second Rishkar can still add counters. 3 mana add 2+1/+1 counters to creatures isn't terrible, especially in a deck like this. So we will go with the Winding Constrictor. So maybe the Jada Offshoot in this deck is just to really slow down like the Tarka Red type decks, but I think it's kind of weird in the main, unless this deck really wants to go the distance. So let's go the Winding Constrictor. And then we have the next turn play of going Rishkar, which is probably the right thing to do. I could easily be killed here. Duress does hit Nissa, so our opponent does know there was a Nissa in our deck, but I'm okay with this 1-for-1 type exchanges, as the good thing about this Hardened Scales deck is just establishing a threat, and everything after that gets bigger and bigger, and we draw the second Nissa, so this Duress was pretty bad. So I'm going to go Rishkar, and it could get killed in response. Yeah, I still think Rishkar is the play. Rishkar. So let's see if there is a kill spell here. Doesn't appear to be. So, yeah, we'll attack in for 4. I mean, this is basically standard right now. I mean, we actually do have Blooming Marsh, Cinder Glade for us. The Cinder Glade really in here is we can fetch it from a Bloodstained Mire. So no red in this deck. It's the only reason. Our opponent does miss the land drop, so that's pretty significant. 4 cards in hand. We have the Fatal Push. Here we could go. I'm going to go a Hangarback on just 1, as we'll actually enter the battlefield with 2. And then the Avatar of Resolute can then come in. And it's going to be just monstrous. Yeah, it's a 7/6. So let's go ahead and attack in with the Winding Constrictor once again. And we have a huge board. Our opponent needs like a board wipe at this point. A Languish does not even work. I think that we're going to pretty much close this out, as our opponent just won't have the necessary tempo to really recover here. We have the Nissa to recover from a board wipe of our opponent's. Yeah, it's just going to be it for it. So it's going to the sideboard. I'm actually thinking some sort of like Seasons Past type list is what my inclinations are. This might be the time for Heroic Intervention and the animation module really come into play in a heavy control-based deck, but I haven't seen enough to really. So this is 2 Transgress. I think the Walking Ballistas are not necessary in this particular deck. I mean, they work well with the animation modules, and Fatal Push you. I don't know. We didn't see really much of anything. So I'm going to take the Fatal Pushes out, and if they do have creatures that are worthwhile to kill, I guess we can bring it back in. And we can rely on the Walking Ballistas. Or do we want to go Transgress? Usually Transgress you bring in versus like the combo decks you have to take out a particular card. So we're talking like Aetherworks Marvel, or Saheeli combo. Those are the type where Transgress are really good. Anything with Torrential Gearhook, it's pretty decent versus anything that's running, I would say Languish, but if Fumigate type cards, but usually you can race that. So I don't know if you'd bring it in versus Panharmonicon Elves. Yeah, I probably would with Transgress because it can take care of the Panharmonicon, but it doesn't really hit much else in that deck. It's very awkward versus Rally decks. It can hit Coco. Again, I don't have any experience with this deck. Just took this list off of a top finish. So I think this is fine. We'll go ahead and submit it. So we'll lead off with Hardened Scales and then go and get just a Swamp with the first Bloodstain. So it leads off with the Jade Offshoot. Jade Offshoot is very weird versus this deck because we just keep establishing huge threats. This is good for those little creatures like the Monastery Swiftspear, for example. Not good versus something that keeps on progressing. So we'll just lead off here with the Hardened Scales. And next turn we do have some options. I think the Winding Constrictor is just the dove of play here. I hope my opponent transgresses me. No transgress. So we can just lead off with the Bloodstain and just go get a basic Swamp. So the next one we can just go with the Bloodstained Mire and go get a green source because we'll have the 2 untapped lands. Winding Constrictor here is fine. Our opponent does need to kill this card. Otherwise, next turn we're going to have a quite large Avatar and quite large Narnam Renegade. And again, we just need to race off the removal. We do have ways to really recover in this deck with Nissas and with the animation modules if we get those later on. So I would not be surprised for like a Ruinous Path. It's going to be a Nissa. Okay, so this is some sort of ramp-based strategy. I still want to say Seasons Past with Duresses, those type of cards, and Ulamog being the finisher. Or just the value there. Rishkar's really cool here, but do we rather... Yeah, Rishkar's actually the right play, because then we can get a Renegade out as well. So we'll go ahead and crack this. And that's if I don't want to attack in, which I don't think... I think I want to get this established. So we'll go ahead and grab just the Cinder Glade, because it comes into play untapped. That's how good the mana is in this deck. And we'll go Rishkar, which these things get insanely big. You will have getting +2 counters each. Which actually ends up being +3 counters, +2 from the 2 effects. And then we did have a card die, so this thing is going to be huge as well. I'll have a 4/5. Everything survives Languish here. Crux of Fate is the real deal, if that's the case. If it's not a Crux of Fate, I think that we're in great shape. We're swinging in for insane amount of damage next turn. Opponent is only up to 24. But if it is a Crux of Fate, yeah, we're in. We're in for a world of hurt. Nope, just another Nissa's Pilgrimage. Still doesn't have the Spell Mastery. So he ramps one up. And then it goes up to a 25. So has 4, 5, 6 mana. We want to avoid drawing lands, but we're in great shape here. We do draw the land. I'm going to go ahead and just cast the Avatar. It's going to get 3 counters plus another 3 counters, I believe. Yeah, so it would complete 1, 2, 3. Was that a... Enters battlefield with a +1 counter for each other creature you control the +1 counter. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, okay, that was correct. Because it's getting another extra one from the Hardened Scales and the Winding Constrictor, so 5 total. Alright, so let's go ahead and attack in. And our opponent's taking 9, minimally. I think the Jade Offshoot does want to die here, unless he's got like another ramp type card. So yes, he will block. And possibly have like a fatal push to kill another card, like the Avatar, after the fact. If my opponent does decide to just take the 14, that does put our opponent down to an 11. We'll put a Blooming Marsh, and we'll pass the turn. Alright, so what can my opponent do for 4, 5, 6, 7 mana? Dark Petition into something. Nissa's Renewal. I don't think this is going to be Well, yeah, that does stabilize it. That's going to be 7 life. That's going to be 10 life up to 22. So I don't think we can dish off blocks of 5, and we only dish off... Oh, man, we need a Nissa off the top. And it is a Wooded Foothills, so pretty bad draws there when it counted. But my opponent is still quite low. I'm pretty sure this is a Seasons Past type build. So taking 12, taking 21. Close, 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 close. Or no, taking 17. 9, yep, taking 17 going down. 2A5. I'll most likely thin out here. We'll keep the Wooded Foothills up just in case, though. We can draw into another. Yeah, I guess we just keep that for an enabler. So there's got to be a board wipe, right? Unless Languish is his go-to card. Because even Ulamog here doesn't do it. It's 11 mana. Is this going to be a Emrakul? Emrakul is also pretty bad. Looks like an X spell. The Great Aurora. Well, let's go ahead and do this. Just because... Oh, it doesn't matter, actually. Well, that was worse, right? Oh, yeah, that was worse. No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't, because it's on. So, we'll put all lands onto the battlefield. Wow, we're actually... That was a pretty bad Great Aurora by our opponent. He does ramp up 2, and he can cast something for 6 here. But we basically get 2 Hardened Scales. And... So double Jada Offshoots, and 4 mana still available. So we get double Hardened Scales next turn, and a pretty big... Rinse and repeat, though, by our opponent. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and crack this to get a Cinder Glade. And we don't want to crack this one, though, because we want to use it for the... Wow, we actually can't unload as good as I wanted to, so we'll go get the other Smoldering. The other Great Aurora is going to be tough, though, because we're going to run out of lands. So... How do I want to do this? Let's go Hardened Scales. Animation module. And possibly just make a dude. I think that's better than going another Hardened Scales. Just because we need to get as many permanents as possible for another inevitable Great Aurora. So Languish does work here. Another's Nissa's Pilgrimage. This one does allow our opponent to do the Spell Mastery. Our opponent's only up by 1 card, though. And it looks like another Explosive Vegetation. Yeah, so our opponent's up by 2 cards. And then 2 more cards in the... Alright, so we do need to get as many permanents out this turn. So what is the best way to do that? Nissa's definitely one of them. Just Nissa and... Yeah, because I don't think we need another Hardened Scales at this point. Because we go Winding Constrictor, that doesn't do anything. We do Avatar. No, Nissa, I think Nissa's better to put out right now. No, I think it's Avatar. So Hardened Scales, Avatar, and then we can play another one. At least that gives us some game. And attacking with the Renegade. I'm sure he'll just let it go through. Down to 14. So we'd still get 11 permanents here. We're not too far off of our opponent. Doing another Great Aurora. I mean, we could actually recover here. There's another Jaded Offshoot, though. 5. There's the last Pilgrimage. Unless my opponent's playing more than 4 Pilgrimages. This is freeform. Can't really police what they run. And this is going to be a Nissa's Renewal here. Jeez. So we need to get as many things. I need a Rishkar off the top is what I need. Nissa's terrible at this point. Yeah, that was a bad draw. Because putting a plant really does the exact same thing as putting a plus. We might as well put a +1/+1 counter. But we don't have a lot of lands, and this second one is really going to hurt us. But we get in for some damage here, which is relevant. He just takes it, takes 17, goes down to 18. Really? This is a weird block. Huh. Because they're going to the graveyard. I think you'd want them out as permanents. Well, we're actually in decent shape from another Great Aurora. Demonic Pact. And Languish. Languish does an okay job of clearing the board. 8 mana still. So what is the 8 mana? Another Great Aurora? Ugin. Ugin is something that wins the game, for sure. Yeah, that's tough. I don't know if I can beat an Ugin. I think we're going to lose this one. How would I like to do this? Just Winding Constrictor is free here. Other than I'd get one less. Yeah, Winding Constrictor is the right card. And then Hangarback Walker. We don't get a card off of it. So you can kill the Winding Constrictor here or the Hangarback Walker. Gonna draw 2 cards. What other nonsense does my opponent have? Gonna kill the Winding Constrictor. Gotta think there's another Great Aurora in the deck. So we're definitely bringing in the Transgresses. If we can hit a specific card, it's just... I don't think... Is there any more lands even in our opponent's deck here? There sure is. And Lost Legacy. Naming what? Just some drawn out mill as the win con. Because I mean, Demonic Pact, he has to go. He has 2 more activations, so then he can use Ugin to actually hit. He actually named Rishkar. I get to draw a card off of that. We'll definitely be attacking into Ugin. Kind of think like another Languish is in our opponent's hand. Now it looks like another no, Great Aurora. Hangarback for 4. Well, his Hangarback's actually better than my Hangarback at this point. Another animation module, Blooming Marsh here. Guess I could have cast that Blooming Marsh. No, I drew that off of the... Let's see. The animation module... Yeah, because Heroic Intervention can give myself hexproof. So... I think we'll leave that up. It's going to go at me. So do I think I do Heroic Intervention. So I'm not going to get any value out of the animation modules, but they are currently protected. Alright, I can do some damage at me, putting Ugin up to 8. And this looks like a Great Aurora is coming. No, Hangarback for 10. Wow. Yep, that's a thing. Decides not to attack in. Going to try to go for the Ugin win. Put a counter on our Hangarback. And we cannot use these, unfortunately. Hardened Scales is kind of cool here. Because it allows me to get even more value. Ugin's scary, though. Ugin is something that can dish off some damage, but my opponent has to win right here, correct? Otherwise, the Demonic Pact... So he probably needs to activate Ugin to exile his own Demonic Pact, I would imagine. 2 cards in my opponent's hand. A lot of dead cards like Languishes, I would assume. So here we're just going to make some tokens. To chump block. And I imagine that's what's going to have to happen with Ugin here. It's going to have to -4. So it gives us an opening. Not quite sure how good that opening is, but it's an opening. And if we win this game, that's crazy. Unless he's got like a Dark Petition to find the other maybe another Ugin? Ulamog. Ulamog's even in the deck. Okay. That is actually really good. Takes care of his own. The Renegade's quite weak. I don't know if there's anything that can be done here, so We'll go on to the sideboard. Transgress will come in. We don't need the heroic interventions. I think they're quite weak. Animation modules also, it works sort of. Yeah, animation module seems okay. Just to go kind of the go wide. It's weird versus. Really weird versus this deck, if they do have the Languish. So heroic interventions are weak. I still like Rishkar. So the Greenwheel Liberator, is it going to be fast enough for this particular deck? I just think we cut down an animation module to a 1-of. And yeah, none of these need to be in there. Does Walking Ballista actually does seem okay though. So is it just worse or better than a card like the Greenwheel Liberator? Because it can shoot down, but I'm not quite sure that we can, in response to a Languish, do some damage. Yeah, I'm still under the impression Walking Ballista is actually not the best card in this one. I could be wrong though. All right, we'll submit this. This is a hand of how greedy do I want to be. I want to go Hardened Scales, but then I go into Winding Constrictor, and then I go into probably Walking Ballista. So we'll do the Hardened Scales. There's our best 1-drop. And then we'll go get a Black Source. Oh, that's a beautiful card. And get the Snake. See what our opponent does on turn 2. A Hangarback for 1. That's not going to be the greatest card. We'll go Wooded Foothills. Sack it. Grab probably a Cinder Glade here is fine. And then Rishkar. And attack in. Highly doubt there's a block here. Opponent's down to a 15. And it's going to be the Ballista so we can actually kill the Hangarback Walker. Hopefully it goes like Nissa's Pilgrimage here. Yeah, so we don't want the Hangarback Walker to get out of control. So I still think it's Walking Ballista. And kill both the Hangarback Walker and the token. Blooming Marsh, unfortunately, comes into play tapped. Yeah, so Walking Ballista. We'll kill the Hangarback. Kill the token. And then swing in for 10. So our opponent's down to 15. After seeing all of his deck, is there anything our opponent can even do next turn? A Languish doesn't kill anything. Yeah, I think this is game. This time we do get a nice, fast, starting. Pretty interesting match, though. Like the deck. Just the good old school ramp into Ulamog type thing. Yeah. We'll go on to the next match. This has been Kevin with GatheringMagic.com. Thanks for watching.